Good evening. Good evening. Oh, thank you. Good evening. Can you believe we're at the closing already? I hope you're saying no. I hope you're saying, no, we need more. I can't believe that 2 nights ago I was up here welcoming you all and talking to you about how excited we were to see your research, to see your posters, to see your oral presentations. That can only be eclipsed, right, by tonight's events where we get to see some winners. How many of you are, you're feeling good? You're feeling, yeah? Yeah? Okay. I noticed that some of you came dressed ready for this stage. I noticed it. I saw you walking in. Clearly, you have some very exciting expectations, and I'm very proud of that. We have a super exciting closing plenary. Our team, who has put this entire event together, you're going to hear a little bit more about them in a moment, but all of that team is really led by Iris Wagstaff, who you have seen earlier. And I told Iris every single convening that she hosts, I become more and more convinced that her superpower is the creation of an all-star speaker lineup. I mean, just incredible panels. So, yeah, I will ask for applause for all of those panelists. I do hope that you have had an incredible few days. I hope that you are leaving here feeling, especially for those of you who this may be your first ERN, I hope that you're leaving here feeling energized, feeling seen, feeling heard, feeling inspired. And I hope that you're leaving here with confidence and knowing how important you and your voice is in science, in your field, and to your communities. Seeing your work, hearing the work that you've been doing, I am more and more and more convinced that this is the future of STEM. You are the future of STEM. And you've heard our panelists talk about that and talk about how important not only your work is in this field, but talk about how important your collaborations with each other are. And so I hope you're also leaving here with a LinkedIn full of connection requests. I will remind you all that, okay, now I've heard you all, you guys have been active in the chats. So I've heard Hoova, I heard Hoova, I heard Hoova. So I appreciate you dissecting the exact way we should be pronouncing the app. And I hope that you will continue to use that. I did want to let you know that app will remain active. The EARN 2023, your access to that will remain active. And you'll continue to be able to connect with folks. If you've seen a poster or if you've seen a presentation or if you were at a professional development opportunity and you said, oh, I really wanted to connect with that person. I really wanted to ask them for that resource. I really wanted to check in with them about how did they get to that lab or to do that thing. You still have access to do that. So I hope that app will continue to give you avenues to make those connections, to continue to fuel your work and your careers. So I'm going to keep us rolling, and I'm quite excited to introduce our next guest. Dr. Parikh is our CEO at AAAS. He's also the executive publisher of the Science family of journals. And his story and his journey in STEM and in science is really, really exciting, at least to me. I hope he would say the same for himself. And as we've shared with you, I encourage you to check out his full bio in the app. But in particular, I wanted to point out a couple things to you all. Dr. Parikh is the son of Indian immigrants. He completed his undergraduate studies at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. A lot of North Carolina love in this room over this week. Early in his career, Dr. Parikh was a presidential management intern at NIH and was awarded the National Science Foundation Graduate Research Fellowship while earning his PhD in molecular structure and chemistry from the Scripps Research Institute at La Jolla, California. He has spent 2 decades at the nexus of science, policy, and business and is an active member of the scientific advocacy community. And so please join me in welcoming him to share some remarks with you.
Good evening, everybody. How is everybody? Good? Can you believe there are over 1,200 of y'all in this room? Over 12, yeah, it's okay, you can clap to that. Over 1,200 people in this room. Now, I've got a series of questions for you. I want you to answer, all right? This is not me just talking. Have you learned a lot? Yeah? Yeah? Have you met a lot of future scientific collaborators? Yeah? The smart people in this room? Have you had a good time? Come on, really? Have you had a good time? All right. For how many of you is this your first scientific meeting? Raise your hands. That's great. Welcome. Welcome. I got to tell you, though, they're not all like this. They're not all like this. Some of them are a lot more dull. A lot more dull. But, you know, because of that, I want to make sure we thank the people that made this possible. I want to make sure we thank them when we say their names out loud and we clap them in, all right? So first of all, you've already heard Dr. Iris Wagstaff. Let's clap her in. Thank you, Iris. Neela White. Neela. Allison Gonzalez. Claire Malloy. Janice Lim. Cassandra Jones. Rachel Keel. Janaea Thompson. Elise Menendez. Laureen Summers. Dr. Shirley Malcolm. My legendary co-author, Dr. Shirley Malcolm. And I also want to thank the National Science Foundation for being our partners on this for over a decade. And I want to thank our project director, Carletta Page Anderson. Thank you very much. That is a partnership and a collaboration that makes a big difference. So I got a couple minutes to talk to y'all tonight. So I'm going to spend just a little bit of time. I want to talk about the fact that we live in an extraordinary moment. We live in an extraordinary moment of time in science. You know, I read this paper the other week, and it said something like, scientific advances and disruptions are slowing down, and that the golden age of science is over. Now, I have the job of being the executive publisher of Science Magazine. And you know what? Baloney. Don't navel gaze. Look up. Look up. When you look up, what do you see? You see images from the James Webb Space Telescope, looking back to the beginning of time. What else do you see? You see a woman in the Mississippi Delta who has been cured of sickle cell disease by gene editing. You see metabolic disorders that are being treated for the first time. You see people being lifted out of poverty. We are making tremendous progress. There's a lot to be done. But don't let anybody ever tell you that we don't live in extraordinary times. But we also live in a time of great challenge. There's some scary stuff out there, and things that should make us worry. We have got poverty to overcome, extreme poverty to overcome in this country and around the world. We have got climate change that we've got to adapt to and mitigate. We've got children who need to live a better life than we did. That should not be a question. And all of that can be done. All of that can be achieved with the help of STEM: science, technology, engineering, math, medicine. These are the tools that we have to make the world a better place. And sometimes it seems dark. Sometimes it seems like the world is disconnected, that we're all polarized, that there's not a way to get back from that. But I have to tell you, I have hope. I have an extreme amount of hope and optimism. And the reason why I do is I look at the history of the organization that I get to lead, the American Association for the Advancement of Science, AAAS. Listen to those words: American Association for the Advancement of Science. It was founded in 1848. It's 175 years ago. Before the Civil War, before suffrage. It was founded at a time when the founders, although very progressive for their time, were all white men. They were meteorologists and ecologists and the beginnings of what we'd call natural scientists. But they probably never imagined that the CEO of their organization in 2023 would be a guy named Sudip Parikh. They probably never imagined that our board would be majority women. Yeah. And they probably never imagined that our board chair right now would be Dr. Gilda Barabino, a black woman engineer. What they did imagine was that progress was going to be made by the advancement of science and serving society. Advancing science and serving society. And so if an organization like this, that was born in 1848 and had all the problems of that time, can change, can evolve, can go through revolutions, so can anything else. So can anything else. But you know what it takes? You know what it takes? It takes people. It takes people. There was a president of the AAAS named Margaret Mead. And she has a quote that I love. Of course, I always have to paraphrase it because I can never remember it exactly. But what she said was, to never doubt the ability of a small group of passionate, committed citizens to change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. It's the only thing that ever has. And so when I look at all those things that I talked about, the Webb Space Telescope, the helicopter on Mars, the COVID-19 vaccine, when I look at the teams that led to those achievements, I can't help but notice that those teams look like America. It's made up of men. It's made up of women. It's made up of black men and women. It's made up of white men and women, of Hispanic men and women. It's made up of people from all over the world, immigrants. It looks like America. Those teams look like America. And that is when we're able to solve complex problems. That is when we're able to do great things. That is whenever we are able to make the world a better place. And so I'm confident when I look at this room, and I see the faces, I see the potential in this room for a small group of committed people to change the world. Because we're not doing things here on the scale of weeks or months. This takes years and decades. It takes what a friend of ours calls cathedral building. You know, we're living in an age, the JWST, the anthrax vaccine, the COVID-19 vaccine, those are the pyramids of our time. Those are the Stonehenge of our era. But you know what? Do you know who they made the pyramids for? Who'd they make the pyramids for? The pharaoh, the king or the queen. Well, the JWST is not for the king. The COVID vaccine is not for the king. It's for the people of this great country and the people of the world. And that is what's possible by the people in this room and the amazing teams that we're putting together around the world. So you all give me hope. Now, there's one thing I have to do before I sit down. Is that when I look across this room, I am confident that in this room there is an engineer that can solve the problem of battery storage for solar energy and wind energy. When I look across this room, I know that there is an astronomer that's going to see farther than anybody's ever seen before. And when I look across this room, I know that there is a biochemist who is going to make sure that gene editing technology that cured the woman in the Mississippi Delta, that we can bring the price down from $2 million to $2,000. I know that exists in this room. And so I also know that someday y'all are going to be famous. Some of you are going to be billionaires. Some of you are going to be Nobel Prize winners. I need a picture of that. So if you will all smile for me, and I know that I'm going to get a Nobel Prize winner and a billionaire in this picture. So everybody stay still. Make sure you're smiling. Hang on. I have to do that. You got to do a panorama. Okay. Oh, let's try to go this way. All right. Smile. All right. Thank you all very much. I'm so proud that you are part of the AAAS family now. You're a part of this network. You're a part of the scientific enterprise, and you have expectations of you all. Change the world. Thank you.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling seas. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of a new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. Yes, yes, till victory is won. We are in for a treat on tonight. I just want to say before I introduce our speaker tonight, my name is Roderquita Moore. I am a community STEM innovator, as well as I work for the federal government as a research chemist, USDA Forest Service, Forest Products Laboratories. But before I introduce our speaker, I want to say this because I want to encourage our students as you go back to your schools. Before I came here on this week, I actually had an accident. and we were hit from the back. And the driver was going almost 60 miles per hour. And I was able, the person who was in the car with me, we were able to walk out of that situation with our activities of our limbs, no bruises or anything to that nature. And so when I look at that situation, I had to get here on tonight because I wanted to just encourage our young people as you go back and you do your research that is challenging, or you think that you don't belong here. In the words of the famous words of DJ Khaled, he said, God did. That's what DJ Khaled said. When you think that you can't accomplish, or you're told that you're not able to move forward in something, I want you to remember the famous words of DJ Khaled. He said, God did. So I just want that to continue to resonate with you as you go back home on this week. Now, to help take us further for you to understand how God can do that, I'm going to introduce our speaker on tonight. She is a woman of many firsts. And what I mean by that, first to do certain things in her area of expertise. And so let me read a little bit of her bio, but I'm pretty sure she's going to handle the rest of it for you to know who she is and what she's been able to accomplish. Dr. Chavonda Jacobs-Young serves as the USDA, U.S. Department of Agriculture Undersecretary for Research, Education, and Economics, or RE. And as USDA Chief, the RE mission area is comprised of more than 8,500 employees across 5 organizations, including Agricultural Research Services, ARS, and Economics Research Services, National Agricultural Statistics Services, National Institute of Food and Agriculture, and the Office of Chief Scientist. Together, these 5 organizations advance agriculture research, innovation, data, and extension addressing agriculture's highest priorities, such as climate smart agriculture, nutrition security, food safety, and strengthening of food supply chain. Prior to being appointed by the President Biden, to serve as the REU Undersecretary, Dr. Jacobs-Young was the ARS Administrator for 8 years. She is a Fellow of AAAS, American Association for the Advancement of Science, and the National Academy of Public Administration. She holds a master's and PhD degree from North Carolina State University. I present to some and introduce to others none other than our Undersecretary of the Department of Agriculture. Let's receive her with a hearty applause.
Well, Dr. Moore has really raised the bar. I will save you all and not break out in song. We're going to let her have that one. So good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for inviting me to participate this evening. And Dr. Roderquita Moore, it's so good to see you in person, and thank you for that kind introduction. I bring you greetings from my Secretary of the Department of Agriculture, Tom Vilsack, and on behalf of my USDA colleagues. Let me begin by saying that I love the goals of this conference, helping undergraduate and graduate students enhance their science communication skills and better understand how to prepare for science careers as a part of our dynamic global workforce. You all look beautiful tonight. So I'll need a copy of that photo that you took earlier. Each of you comes from a unique background. And no matter how much or how little exposure you've had to formal science, you're bound to pick up useful information here that you would not be able to gather on your own individually. So coming together is powerful. I've been asked to share just a little bit about my journey in STEM, culminating in leadership roles in the federal government. And I'm honored to do so. As Undersecretary for Research, Education, and Economics, or REE as you've heard for short, and the USDA Chief Scientist, I am fortunate to work with amazing scientists around the globe. All of them are doing important, potentially life-extending work of making fresh, nutritious food available to all Americans. REE has more than 8,500 employees with a $4 billion budget. The 4 agencies that comprise REE all have important missions. The Agricultural Research Service is the U.S. Department of Agriculture's chief scientific in-house research agency. It has a special place for me. As you've heard from Dr. Moore, I was head of that agency for 8 years. With 8,000 employees across the country, 4 overseas laboratories, getting to work every day with the most amazing scientists. The research spans field to fork, covering topics like beneficial microbes in soil, studying ways to protect the environment and adapt to climate change, and how to keep our food supply safe and nutritious as possible. The Economic Research Service provides information and research on agriculture and economics to enhance public and private decision-making, helping to inform the policies that drive our government. The National Agricultural Statistics Service conducts hundreds of surveys each year and prepares reports, very important crop reports that move markets, that inform decisions, that help undergird U.S. agriculture. And they're currently preparing what's called the Census of Agriculture. Anybody in here from a rural community and ever filled out a Census of Agriculture survey? Oh, we got to fix that. The National Institute of Food and Agriculture, or NIFA, provides funding for programs in advanced agriculture-related sciences. Now, NIFA works most closely with the land-grant university system across the country, our 1862s, our 1890s, our 1994s, and our Hispanic-serving institutions. Anybody in here from a land-grant institution? Yay, all right. I love it. So you may be thinking, well, that's all interesting, but how does this impact me? How many of you will be watching the Super Bowl tomorrow? Okay, all right, okay. I didn't see a lot of hands raised, but that's okay. So then you will have an opportunity to see USDA science in action. The turf, the grass that the players will be playing on the playing field is Tahoma 31. It was developed by Oklahoma State University researchers with support from the National Institute of Food and Agriculture. Now, because that turf can stand cold temperatures better than most other turf grasses, it has become a staple, not only for lawns such as the U.S. Capitol lawn in Washington, D.C., but also at major sports venues around the world, from Dodger Stadium and Churchill Downs to the Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs football stadiums. Now add Super Bowl 57 to that list. So as you watch that turf and that game being played, no, that's ours. So lest you think it's a small matter, the turf grass industry contributes more than $40 billion per year to the U.S. economy. Okay, so many of us will be watching the Super Bowl, and you know, that means tailgate appetizers. So for some of those folks who didn't raise their hand, at least you might be enjoying the appetizers. And for me, my favorite appetizer is the chicken wings. I tried to order some last night, but I need to wait till tomorrow. Earlier this month, the National Chicken Council released its annual chicken wing report. Yes, that's a thing. Projecting that Americans will consume a record-breaking 1.45 billion chicken wings during this Super Bowl weekend. Let that sink in. So, USDA economist at the Economic Research Service tells us that the good news is that chicken wing prices are coming down. And that's partially due to the increase in production, which was hampered by limited supply and strong demand early in the pandemic. You guys are studying supply and demand in your economics courses, so now you've seen it at play. So behind the scenes, the scientists at the Agricultural Research Service are working to ensure that we all have access to affordable, fresh, and safe supply of poultry. Their research helps prevent, discover, and solve poultry health problems. Has someone heard about a poultry health problem in the news lately? The price of eggs. But there's a disease that we're dealing with. It's called avian influenza. So our scientists are busy at work helping to diagnose, to produce mitigation strategies and produce results to address that disease. So we're working very hard to make sure that everybody tomorrow and over the weekend has access to their favorite chicken wings, lemon pepper, honey barbecue, insert. Hopefully you'll enjoy it. So you see, USDA science is relevant in more ways than we even realize. For 2 decades, in my current and previous roles in USDA over 21 years, I've consistently found my professional purpose in public service and agriculture. I count myself so truly fortunate. Every day, I have an opportunity to wake up and think, wow, I get to go to work today and help feed the world. I remained in ag science because I believe we improve the quality, availability, and safety of food for all Americans. Our revolutionary research is used by people all over the world. So that's a little bit about science in USDA. I could talk about that all day. But as I look out over what I'm told are over 1,000 participants tonight from over 200 institutions, including about 800 undergraduate and graduate STEM students from NSF-funded research programs and other research programs around the country, I'm honored to be here to speak to such an elite group of young scientists. And thinking about what I wanted to talk about tonight, I also reflected on the fact that over 80% of the students in this room are underrepresented minorities in STEM. And this is a unique opportunity for me to share with you my own story and some reflections that I hope you find thought-provoking at this stage in your lives. Recently, I was honored to return back to North Carolina State University after arriving there 37 years prior, to give the commencement address to 3,600 graduates, both undergraduate and graduate students. I have 3 degrees from North Carolina State University. Go Wolfpack, that's right, thank you. So today, what I thought I'd like to do is share some facets of what I shared with that audience that day. Is that okay? Then I'll talk a little bit about why agriculture science is so important to our future, and then when I'm told we're going to have some Q&A. So I want you to be thinking about your questions as I go through my remarks, but still try to pay attention. But I know you'll be thinking of all the questions you're going to ask me. So first, my advice to you is threefold. 1, be prepared. 2, be agile, flexible, and adaptable. And 3, be a cup, a vessel. Be filled by every experience and opportunity in life. So let's take a brief look at each one of these. First, be prepared and open to possibilities. Trust me, when I was your age, there is no way I could envision the impact that I could have on the world. Just look at my story. In many ways, I'm an unlikely person to be standing before you today. I was born in Augusta, Georgia. Any Georgians in the house? I had my early start in a place called the Bottom, where persistent poverty still exists today. My mom, while a single divorced mom, worked hard under tough circumstances to go back to school, break the cycle of poverty, and become a first-generation college graduate. And her expectations of my sisters and me were equally high. I knew that attending college was non-negotiable. It was never in doubt that I would go to college, and my mom was going to be sure of that. The road there, however, was not easy. In high school, I participated in a special program that introduced minorities to engineering, much like many of you today. Engineering resonated with the part of me who always was curious about how to fix things and how to make things work better. A pivotal moment came when I was on a field trip to Georgia Tech University. That's good. It was there that I met several engineering students. Some were African American, some were women. I know. For the first time, I was able to see myself as an engineer. I realized that I could have a career in science, make things work better, and because of those students, I knew engineering was truly possible for me. So college was next. While a senior in college, I had one of the most consequential conversations of my life. One of my professors planted the seed with me about the option of going to graduate school. I didn't even know that was a possibility, guys. I'm not sure what he saw in me then, but I went on to become the first PhD, the first African-American PhD in my field. Thank you. So professors and mentors that are here today, this is a shout out to you and a lesson for all of us, really. You just never know what day and what conversation is going to be momentous in someone else's life. I'm proof that you never know how much what you say matters. Always being open to possibilities led me to say yes when nominated by President Biden 30 years later. And now stand before you as the chief scientist of USDA, the first African American to hold this Senate-confirmed post. Thank you. So step boldly into new challenges. Since you are here tonight, I'm certain that you have a great education that has prepared you to that end. I know from personal experience that a well-rounded education will serve you well. If you take nothing from me tonight, please hear this. Just like that professor did for me, there are those around you who see things in you that you may not see yourself. Will you be open to their feedback and the possibilities? Will you be ready to capitalize on the opportunity? So be prepared. My next point, be agile, be flexible. There's a great book by Marshall Goldsmith titled, "What Got You Here Won't Get You There." How successful people become even more successful I highly recommend it. So in the book, the author states that people who believe they can succeed see opportunities where others see threat. I want to share a personal story with you. It involves high jumping, my specialty as a track and field athlete. In high school, I competed every year at the state level. At one point, I was number 2 in the state of Georgia in the high jump. I did this by using something called the scissor jump. Have you ever heard of it? Of course you haven't. So I would run up to the bar as fast as I could, and I'd just jump over the bar like a hurdle. It was so odd looking that people just came to watch me jump. It didn't matter if I won or not. It was just like, what is she doing? Fast forward to North Carolina State University and competing in the Atlantic Coast Conference. To be successful, I was told by my coach that I had to change my entire jumping style. That was not what I wanted to hear. I now had to learn the Fosbury flop. Have you guys heard of the Fosbury flop? Of course you have. So for my physics folks in the room, the flop involves the jumper bending his or her back around the bar at the peak of the jump while the center of mass travels under the bar. So basically backwards. So I had to go from jumping forward to trusting that I could not see the bar and go over it. For context, every world record holder since 1980 has used this technique. This is a data-driven, tested recommendation. And remember, I'm a scientist, right? So it must be good, right? Well, I struggled. It was outside my comfort zone. It was outside of what got me there in the first place. I felt threatened. But I listened and trusted the process. And eventually, I became proficient in the Fosbury flop. In fact, I became a champion, a 3-time ACC high jump champion. So here's my takeaway point. What worked for me in the past would not work for me in this new chapter of my life. Sometimes I thought it would have been easier, y'all. Those engineering classes were beating me up and I wasn't having much success on the track. It might have been easier to quit. But I decided to recognize that what got me here wouldn't get me there. This new chapter required something different. It required resilience, persistence, and it required me to remain agile. In your life, you will need resilience, you will need persistence, and you will need agility. I encourage you to remain flexible, be open to change, and trust the process. Remembering that sometimes what made you successful in one phase of your life will evolve. So 1, be prepared. 2, be agile. And 3rd, this is highly technical. AAAS, you might want to write about this in the next magazine journal. I encourage you to be a cup. Pick a cup, coffee cup, goblet, teacup, solo cup. I don't know, it's the weekend for the Super Bowl. Just be an open vessel. Subscribe to continual personal improvement. Be a lifelong learner. Use every experience in your life to fill your cup just a little bit more. Have you ever heard of the Nelson Mandela quote? I never lose. I either win or learn something. I don't lose. I learn from every experience. And you've had and will have many experiences in your life. At 15, I had my first big job promotion. Moving from Burger King to nighttime cashier at the local Piggly Wiggly. It's moving up, y'all. That's where I learned the importance of great customer service, which is a skill I still use today to build and maintain the partnerships which are critical and so important to my success. The lessons I learned from that job at Piggly Wiggly poured into my cup on the path of my continuous learning and personal development. I like to think that every job we have, every challenge we overcome, and every situation we master, these are all learning opportunities pouring into our cup. And sometimes, y'all, our biggest pour, the biggest learning opportunity, comes disguised in adversity and challenges. Remember, we don't lose, we what? We learn. So I want to encourage all of you to continue on a trek of personal development and make learning a lifelong commitment. So 1, be prepared. 2, be agile. 3, be a cup. So I want to add one more. Be kind. The world needs more compassion and grace. In life, I encourage you to be the light we need so desperately in our world. So in a world where you can be anything, be kind. You are a determined generation, a thoughtful generation. You've seen a lot of turmoil and faced a lot of difficulty with determination and compassion. I have great optimism for and faith in your generation. Before I move into Q&A, which I'm really looking forward to, I would like to say a few words on USDA's efforts to promote equity in agriculture, where USDA, with the support of the American Rescue Plan, made a historical investment. We have an unprecedented opportunity to quite literally change the face of agriculture in America, making it more representative of who we are as a nation in the 21st century, and making opportunities available to and inclusive of the diversity of students across the country. So the Secretary recently announced a new initiative called From Learning to Leading, cultivating the next generation of diverse food and agriculture professionals, or Next Gen program, which is focused on creating opportunity for those who've been historically underserved by USDA programs. The program invests $250 million in minority-serving institutions to create career development opportunities in agriculture for next-gen scholars. These competitive funding opportunities aim to attract, inspire, and retain talented students at minority-serving institutions for careers in food, agriculture, and related disciplines. They represent a real opportunity to both transform individual lives and bring great benefit to our nation. And the program recognized the critical role youth play, that you play for our future, and the hope that you all represent for us. Perhaps some of you will take part in these or similar activities. Maybe some of you will consider a career in agriculture. All of you represent the future. You've shown the drive to get here. You've shown that you have what it takes to be successful in the world of science. We need you in agriculture, and more importantly, we just need you in STEM. In ag, we're helping farmers and our stakeholders meet some incredible challenges. The global population just reached 8 billion, and by 2050 will be at 9 billion. That's over 1 billion more mouths to feed. We are constantly challenged to develop new and better breeds and varieties of plants and animals to improve productivity, sustainability, and the safety of ag products. And emerging pests and diseases always loom, waiting to cause billions of dollars of losses to production. Importantly, we must also strive for well-nourished Americans, making health-promoting diet and lifestyle choices. And we're doing all of this work against the backdrop of climate change and the critical need to preserve the nation's natural resources. These are not easy problems to solve. They are big, audacious challenges, and I'm optimistic about meeting them because of you. You, Gen Z, are an amazing cadre. Your values and the actions you take will drive the change we need to cure cancer, feed the hungry, protect the environment, achieve social, environmental, and economic justice, and raise and achieve our global ambitions around innovation and discovery. We're impressed by your enthusiasm, awed by your perseverance, and grateful for your decision to pursue a career in STEM, which has a vital role to play in making all of our lives healthier, longer, and more enjoyable. So let me close again by thanking you for inviting me to be here tonight, and I wish you all the best. And now I invite you to participate in the Q&A session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Undersecretary Jacobs-Young. So I'm going to ask if we can start to move to the mics that are here, if we can, for any questions that you may have for our Undersecretary. Well, I have one while we're waiting.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. There's one right. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Michaela Drew. I really resonated with your statement about being from the bottom. I'm from Philadelphia, and my family is from what we consider the bottom. And a lot of scholars tell us about transferable skills that we acquire in our educational career. But I wanted to know if you had any transferable skills that you learned from being from that community in Augusta, Georgia.
Wow, that's a loaded question. Thank you. You know, it's interesting. My Chief of Staff, Mr. Norrington, is here on the first row, and he and I travel a lot, and as a result of that, we get to talk a lot. And we were in the airport, stuck in the airport Thursday. He couldn't help me, and I couldn't help him. We were stuck. And there was a group of cheerleaders. They were there, and they were giggling, and they were just having a ball. I think the word I used was light. I said, I look at that, and their lives seem so light. It seems so airy. They seem so free. That's not the environment I grew up in. You know, I had to learn a lot of skills early. My mother working and going to school meant we spent a lot of time alone. You had to be independent very early. I also recognized that had I not done that, I may not be where I am today, because I learned to be resilient. I learned to be tough. I learned to be independent. And so there are some skills that we picked up in those communities. And then watching my mother get us out, I think was the biggest, monumental, symbol that education is the key to improve your life. Thank you for your question.
Thank you.
The mic right here.
Hey, my name is Terrell Parker, and I have a question. So as a holder of a PhD, how would you compare the experiences of solving problems and leading in the academic field and compared to the political and more governmental field, especially in agriculture, where you have more conservative aspects?
So for me, being in a field my PhD is in paper science and engineering.
Okay.
And so it's taking wood fiber and making it into paper products, disposable diapers, writing paper, toilet paper, paper towels, bioengineered materials. In essence, paper is a commodity. Everybody know what a commodity is? And so you have to make a lot of it to make money. And so that means you have a paper machine that has to run 24 hours a day in order to be profitable. if one thing goes wrong with that paper machine, you've got to be able to backwalk that and problem solve very quickly to get it back up and running. That's how I look at everything in my life. I can go to a buffet table and see that they've not lined what they've offered up properly. Why is the bread on this side of the meat? It's a fatal flaw. I'm saying that to say that everything we learn is transferable. And so with my training in engineering and the PhD, it taught me that there's so many things I don't know. And it's okay not to know them. But I want to work to find out. And there's all kind of jokes about people having PhDs. We won't get into those tonight. But what I have is a lifelong desire and a lifelong curiosity. And I encourage all of you to stay curious. And all those skills transfer from one position to the next. So as administrator of a large agency, I worked to put in processes that were credible, that were transparent, that were reproducible, that were equitable. Just like that paper machine, I walked back to see where's the fundamental issue and how can we fix it. And so every skill you pick up, whether it was at this conference this weekend or in your part-time job you work in or whatever you're doing, they are transferable. Just don't forget that all of that makes you who you are. Thank you for your question.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Joanne Sproul, and I'm here with the Little Washington Growing Group, which is a farm that my 80-year-old mother runs and operates in Goldsboro, North Carolina. So
Yay,
what
Goldsboro.
we found in working with the different institutions and organizations around agriculture is Black folks don't know how much money there is available to them with that. For students, there are scholarships that schools literally say, we don't have anybody to give this money to. And it sounds like from a USDA perspective, there are careers that actually flow into that as well. So my question to you is, how do we make people aware, especially our students from underprivileged backgrounds, that agriculture and education is really available with a lot of money to pay for them to go to school?
That's a very good question. And part of what for the last 2 years, a large part of our efforts have been raising awareness about the programs that are offered through USDA. And especially getting out into communities. USDA, we recognize our history. And there's nothing we can do going backwards, but going forward, we're being very deliberate about getting out into communities that may have been underserved before and communities that may never have been served before. And so we're getting out just to raise the awareness and try to do technical assistance and boot camps on how to work with the department, because it's a large department. Over 100,000 people. It's a very large department, and so we're doing a lot of that. And then as an ARS administrator, we've set up a program called the Three Sister Programs. I'm not sure if anybody's here from the Native American or tribal community. Yes. So the Three Sisters is an agronomic practice where you plant squash, beans, and corn together. And the three plants have a co-beneficial relationship. So we started a program where we're adopting agriculture high schools. My first one is the Chicago High School for Agricultural Sciences, which is on the south side of Chicago. And we have linked that school up with our scientists across the country. We've done trainings and field trips. And so trying to get, and that the Chicago High School is Black and brown children who are going to that school through a lottery program. And so we've just got to get out there, and people need to see people that look like me, they need to see people that look like you. This is what a scientist looks like, right, Dr. Malcolm? Through the AAAS If-Then ambassador. I'm a AAAS If-Then ambassador. Yeah, so yeah, we're trying to do better. Your Partnership Network, we have our ASEED initiative where we're trying to get out into those communities. And more importantly, the 1890 Scholars Program, the Haku program. There's lots and lots of programs for our students. So if there's anything I can do to help raise awareness or provide information, Mr. Norton's here on the front row, we're happy to do that.
Well, quick plug, my mom also taught chemistry for 25 years, including Iris, so we're gonna come talk to you when we're done.
I didn't hear what she said, I'm sorry.
My mom taught chemistry, high school chemistry for
Oh.
25 years, including ours.
Oh,
So
okay,
we're going to
all
find
right.
you when this is over to talk more about that.
Well,
if you can.
perfect. I'm sure Iris was an A+ student.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi there, my name is Kaylee Shingleton. I just want to say, first off, happy Women in STEM Day.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
I just said, my name is Kaylee Shingleton. I just wanted to say happy Women in STEM Day, first off.
Okay.
And then, what suggestions do you have for the average student in this room to help with sustainability practices?
Sustainability. Oh, for students. Oh, yeah, fantastic. Yeah, so part of what we have right now in our society is an awakening of our need to be sustainable, right? I mean, your generation, I think more than any other generation, has really grasped this concept. Things like, did you know that we waste 40% of the food that we produce in the United States? I don't even want to think about how much we've not eaten tonight. So there's simple things that we can all do. We can all do to try to be kinder to our earth. Recycling. The products that we're trying to figure out how to use more sort of our renewable resources into products. So how do we, I talked about wood and the paper, but can we make plastics, adhesives? We found a natural rubber to make car tires. There are all types of research projects that can help us be climate smart. And so I encourage you to connect with some research laboratory or even the USDA if you need science projects and things that you might want to consider.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
On the far end,
Hello, my name is Paris. I'm a senior at Manchester High School, and my question is, sometimes when facing challenges, it can feel daunting or overwhelming, and during those times, how do you stay motivated?
Oh. Yeah, so the question is, how do I stay motivated when faced with challenges? That's the question. So I have a 19-year-old and a 24-year-old. And so, like many of you, the 19-year-old finished the last 2 years of high school at home. So he'll never know what it's like to go to a prom, never know what it's like to be a senior in high school. And I often wonder how that's going to impact this entire generation. We talked about what it's like to grow up in a place called the bottom, which means that I developed a lot of coping skills very early. And as a parent, I've tried to make sure my kids didn't have to do a lot of the things that I had to do growing up. And as a result, sometimes their generation doesn't have as many coping skills in place. Because as a parent, I wanted to make sure they didn't go through, and my husband, that they didn't experience a lot of things that I went through. Not having any money, not having what my friends have, never having been on a real vacation. But then I also wonder, well, where do you get your skills? Where do you get your calluses if we make everything easy? So how do I cope when things are challenging? First of all, I have faith. And whatever you believe in, I have to believe in something bigger than myself. I'm surrounded by a village of people. I have lots of great mentors that I can go to. If it's a professional challenge, I can talk to them. If it's a personal challenge, I can talk to my mom. And so I still depend very heavily on mentors and my elders and my faith. And then I believe in who I am, and so will you. You'll believe in who you are, because it's hard being in this town if you don't know who you are and what your core values are and what you stand for. And so I know you're in high school, as you matriculate through high school and prepare for college, maybe even just get a piece of paper and write down, what are the things that are important to me? And what are the things that I'm willing to compromise and what things am I not? I started my career as a professor. I don't know how many people, some people know that. Dr. Malcolm, you know. It was hard for me. It was so hard being a woman in the academy. I knew I could do it. And remember, I was a track athlete. I'm competitive. I wanted to win. And then one day I asked myself, what are you winning? You're not happy. But I had everybody saying to me, you're a tenure track faculty member. Are you crazy? Nobody walks away from that. But I did. I came to USDA in 2002. That was 21 years ago. I haven't looked back since. And you see me today, right? So sometimes we have to face our challenges head on and step out on faith and talk to the people who are around you who love you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Right here in the middle.
Yes. Dr. Young, thank you so much for what you were doing in the world of agriculture. I myself have grown up on the farm my entire life, raising beef cattle, 4 generations of cattle producer. So my name is Garrett Lofton. I am from Mississippi State University, studying animal and dairy science, concentrating in beef production management.
You said Mississippi State University?
Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Keenum, president?
The Dr. Keenum.
The Dr. Keenum. I'm gonna start being the Chavonda Jacobs Young. I love it. I'm gonna steal that one.
Yes. So as someone who has a disability, I've always wanted to pursue agriculture for my entire life. I've had doubters. I've had people say, no, you can't do that. But what would you say to someone who has those doubters and someone who really wants to pursue that?
So thank you for your question, and thank you for your family's commitment to the land. We know it's not an easy one. 89% of our farmers don't make their primary living on the farm. That means they work a job and then go home and farm.
My dad's one of those people, so.
Yes, and so thank you for your interest in maintaining that farming. So we have programs in the National Institute of Food and Agriculture called the Beginning Farmers and Ranchers Program. And part of that program is an agribility program, where we come in and we work with beginning farmers if you need special tools and assisted technologies, because we want to be able to help everyone who's interested in being a producer stay on the land. We even have programs special for veterans. And so we have some programs in USDA for agribility and to be able to help those with disabilities be successful in their farming.
Thank you. God bless.
God bless you.
Hey, good evening. My name is Kevin Peralta. I got 2 pretty quick questions for you. The first one would be top 3 states to start a farm, you know, for tomatoes. Kind of interested in that when I'm 45.
Say that again.
Top 3 states to start a farm for tomatoes.
Top 3 states to start a farm. Let me get back to you on that one.
Okay. The second one, really quick story. When I was younger, my mom used to grow cilantro in the backyard, and like when she'd come home from work, I'd make her like a little mojito. So the reason why I'm telling you this, you're talking about produce waste. I grew up in New York City, so I noticed there's a lot of produce waste there. How would you get people to grow their own produce, like in their homes, in their apartments, on a smaller scale? Like, how would you encourage them to do that?
So we're encouraging urban agriculture is real farming. And so you can turn any brown space, any space into agriculture production, especially in a place like New York City. Now we have people that are doing indoor agriculture, hydroponics, aquaponics, and turning brownfields and underutilized land into growing spaces. And so we're doing it. We're funding commercial producers in that space. And so I also have a little farm on my patio in Maryland. It's a little embarrassing being the chief scientist for USDA and not being able to grow a lot of things well. but I will never stop trying. All of us has an opportunity to grow something. This year I was more successful with marigolds, so I helped my friends, the pollinators. So, Roderquita, we short on time? We got time for one more?
Yes, a couple more. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for your question.
So those that are remaining at the mics, we're only going to take the ones that are at the mics at this point.
Yeah.
And if you could make your questions really short and quick, so Undersecretary can answer them and move on to the next. Thank you. Right here. Go ahead.
Hello, my name is London Van Every. I'm a senior at Smith Station High School in Smith Station, Alabama. And obviously, you mentioned going through hardships growing up and how all of your experiences sort of fill your cup and help build your skill set as a person. What is one problem in your career, be it pursuing your PhD or with the USDA, that your unique background and your hardships helped solve?
Yeah, so when I was a professor, I had a person, we would go up every year and you do all this matriculation to see who got a raise, who got whatever, and then you go for your tenure vote. And I had another female professor tell me, she said, Chavonda, you can't have everything. I had people tell me when I was a professor that surely you'll wait to get married until you get tenure. Surely you'll wait till you have get tenure to have a baby. No, I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. And my biggest challenge has been being a mom and a wife and pursuing my career. And recognizing, I think Ms. Michelle Obama, I saw her say this on a show. She said, you can have everything, you just may not be able to have it all at once. And so trying to give 110% to a lot of things was my biggest challenge in my career. And so the one that got mostly zero is probably me, and personal care and social activities and whatever. So, but I'm in that phase now. I'm in that chapter now it's called empty nest syndrome. So, yeah, so the time will come. But yeah, but you just got to push through. You do.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
You're in the center, and then the last two over there.
Hello, my name is Taylor Woods, and I am a junior at DM Thurl High School. I wanted to ask, if you knew where you were going to be now and you could give yourself some advice after graduating high school, what would you give yourself? Like, what would you tell yourself? And also, what advice can you give to the younger generation coming up in the STEM field?
Yeah, so 55-year-old me, if I were talking to 17-year-old me, I would be more confident in who I am and what I bring to the table. I would have known my worth and my value right away. It took me some time to learn that. So trust that you know what you know. Because there are going to be those around you that will be very loud and boisterous about who they are and what they know. Sometimes you got to see right through that. But you have to know inside who you are. Be confident in who you are and what you can bring to the table. I would have told myself that.
On the far end over here.
Hello, my name is Abdullah Endao. I attend DM Thurl High School in Georgia. And my question is, as I heard you say earlier that you were raised with a single mother, and also as someone who was raised with a single mother in the household, what role models did you look up to help you get through that tough time?
Role models that you looked up to?
My mom. I looked up to my mom. I still do to this day. I saw her on her grind. She made it happen. My two sisters and I, all are college graduates. Two of them went to on basketball scholarship. One of them played center for Georgia Tech. I'm the shortest. I'm the oldest and the shortest at 5'10". My baby sister's 6'4", the middle one is 6'3" and a half, and I'm 5'10". But my mom, and I just said I was 55. My mom retired at age 55, so she's been retired some 22 years. She earned that lazy boy time. But my mom has been my biggest role model. Thank you for that question.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Catherine Dusso, and I'm not sure if you'll know anything about this, but I was just curious. What are your thoughts on the introduction of insects as a primary source of protein in order to increase sustainability and reduce food waste?
So here's the beauty of this question. I often get to testify before Congress, and so I'm pretty skilled at this. So as a science administrator, an executive in science, we don't pick winners and losers. We conduct research on all aspects and all options. And so we don't pick winners and losers. We're going to conduct research on all of it. We had a head of NIFA, Dr. Sunny Ramaswamy, who was an entomologist, who often fed insects to people at science fairs and things like that. I don't choose to eat the insects, but I will definitely continue to conduct research to make sure that if that's an option that the American people want, we'll have the research conducted. So thank you for your question. Thanks, everybody.
Yes, thank you. Come on, let's give Dr. Chavonda Jacobs-Young a hand of applause. So while we are getting ready to take a picture here, you have a survey, QR code. If you could just take a moment to scan that and fill that out for us, we would greatly appreciate it.
Thank you. Let's give another round of applause for our keynote speaker and also Dr. Roderquita Moore. Thank you so much. So we are about to conclude the first half of this program, so please take about 15 minutes now. Take out your smartphones or your devices. There should be a QR code copy on your table. This is our conference survey that we'd like you to fill out now. So this is a scheduled time in the program, so take about 10 or 15 minutes now to complete that, and then we will transition to the second half of the plenary, which is our awards ceremony. So please take about 10 to 15 minutes now, complete the survey, and then we will transition to the second half of the plenary.